Some animal attacks are so shocking they sound like horror stories. From giant predators to deadly little bugs, nature has claimed human lives in the most disturbing ways. Get ready for a wild dive into the creepiest, scariest, and most unforgettable deaths by animals you'll ever hear about. On August 20th, 1994, Honolulu was expecting an ordinary day of circus thrills at the Neil S. Bladel Arena. Kids were excited for popcorn and tricks, parents were ready to enjoy some family fun, and performers were geared up for another night under the lights. But what no one anticipated was that this day would end in one of the most shocking and tragic animal rampages the world had ever seen. At the heart of it all was Tyke, a 20-year-old African elephant who had spent years living the exhausting, unnatural life of a circus performer. And on this day, she reached her breaking point. Tyke wasn't new to trouble. She had shown signs of stress and aggression before, even attempting to escape handlers in past shows. But warnings were ignored. That day in Honolulu, she was led into the ring like always, expected to do tricks under bright lights and roaring applause. But partway through the performance, something inside her snapped. In full view of the horrified crowd, Tyke turned on her trainer, Alan Campbell, trampling him to death in seconds. The audience, frozen in disbelief, watched as chaos unfolded. People screamed, ran for the exits, and children clutched their parents in panic. But Tyke wasn't done. She stormed out of the arena, crashing through the backstage area and bursting into the streets of Honolulu, still wearing parts of her circus costume. Imagine the shock. You are walking down the street, maybe sipping a coffee or heading to a shop, and suddenly a 5-ton elephant comes barreling past you, smashing cars, stomping on mailboxes and leaving a trail of destruction. For 30 minutes, Tyke roamed the streets, panicked and enraged, with police desperately trying to figure out how to stop her without causing more harm. But the ending was grim. Police ultimately opened fire, shooting Tyke nearly 100 times before she finally collapsed and died on the hot asphalt, her body riddled with bullets. Even after dozens of shots, witnesses reported that she kept trying to get up, an image that stuck painfully in the minds of many who saw it. News of the incident spread rapidly, sparking outrage across the country and beyond. People were not just horrified by the destruction. They were angry that Tyke, a wild animal, had been forced into a life of captivity, made to perform unnatural tricks, and kept under harsh control. Her rampage was seen not just as a tragedy but as a symbol of the dark side of animal entertainment, the price animals pay when they are pushed past their limits for human amusement. The aftermath brought lawsuits, protests, and intense media focus. Animal rights groups used the footage, some of which is still circulating today, as a rallying cry to end the use of wild animals in circuses. Tyke became a poster figure for animal suffering, her story haunting anyone who watched her final moments unfold. In the years that followed, many cities and countries passed laws banning or restricting the use of wild animals in circuses, pointing back to Tyke's story as one of the turning points. In the end, the Tyke incident was not just about one elephant's tragic outburst. It forced a global conversation about the ethics of animal performance, the responsibilities of entertainment industries, and the deep, often ignored costs of keeping wild animals in captivity. Tyke's rampage, though heartbreaking, left a lasting legacy, one that changed how many people see the circus forever. Once upon a time, in the splashy, jumpy, dolphin-flipping world of SeaWorld Orlando, lived a giant killer whale named Tilikum. When I say giant, I mean huge. This dude was 22 feet long and weighed over 12,000 pounds. That's like stacking a bunch of cars together and slapping on a dorsal fin. But Tilikum wasn't just any whale. He was a star performer, the headliner of the famous Dine with Shamu shows where tourists could eat overpriced chicken fingers while watching trainers hug, kiss, and surf on these majestic creatures. One of those trainers was Don Branchot, a seasoned pro with years of experience. A bright smile, and a deep love for the animals she worked with. Everyone loved Dawn. She was the face of SeaWorld, and she truly believed in what she was doing. But behind the scenes, things weren't all glitter and fish buckets. Tilikum, though a crowd favorite, carried a dark past. He had already been involved in 2 deaths before even arriving at SeaWorld. Back in the 1990s at Sealand of the Pacific in Canada, Tilikum and 2 female orcas were linked to the death of a young trainer who fell into the pool. Fast forward to SeaWorld in 1999, and a man who snuck into the park at night was found dead, draped across Tilikum's back. Yikes. Still, Tilikum stayed in the show lineup, mostly because, well, he was valuable for breeding and packed the stadium seats. Then came February 24th, 2010, the day everything changed. During what was supposed to be a routine interaction, Dawn was standing at the edge of the pool with Tilikum when, in a sudden and shocking move, he grabbed her either by the ponytail or arm, eyewitness accounts vary, and yanked her into the water. What followed was an absolutely chaotic, heartbreaking scene. Rescue teams rushed in, but Tilikum refused to let go. Despite desperate efforts, Dawn drowned, and her body suffered multiple injuries caused by the orca's sheer power. It was a devastating, gut-punch moment that left SeaWorld and the public reeling. The fallout was intense. This wasn't just a tragic accident. It sparked a global firestorm. People wanted answers. Why was Tilikum, with his violent history, still performing? Was keeping orcas in captivity pushing them to mental breaking points? Cue the rise of the now iconic 2013 documentary Blackfish, which tore the lid off SeaWorld's practices and slammed the industry for keeping highly intelligent, emotionally complex animals in concrete tanks for human entertainment. Blackfish didn't just ruffle feathers, it blew up the conversation. Celebrities spoke out. Musicians canceled SeaWorld gigs. Attendance dropped. SeaWorld's reputation took a nosedive, and eventually the park ended its orca breeding program and phased out theatrical whale shows altogether. As for Tilikum, he spent the rest of his days mostly away from performances, living in semi-retirement until his death in 2017. His story became a symbol. Some saw him as a villain, but many saw him as a tragic figure, a wild creature turned into a performer, a life of captivity that possibly fueled his unpredictable behavior. The debate over marine mammal captivity still rages on, and Tilikum's name is forever etched in that conversation. So yes, it's a story packed with drama, heartbreak, ethical dilemmas, and a massive orca who became a global headline. It's one of those moments where the glittery world of entertainment collided head-on with some seriously uncomfortable truths. And whether you side with the trainers, the whales, or the protesters, there's no denying one thing. The tale of Tilikum and Dawn Brancheau changed the conversation about marine parks forever. The story of Tatiana the tiger at the San Francisco Zoo is one of tragedy, controversy, and hard lessons, learned a sobering reminder of the unpredictable relationship between humans and wild animals, even within the seemingly safe confines of a zoo. On December 25, 2007, what should have been an ordinary Christmas evening turned into a nightmare when Tatiana, a 300-pound Siberian tiger, escaped from her enclosure and launched a fatal attack on 3 young men. 17-year-old Carlos Sousa Jr. lost his life in the attack, while brothers Emrit Pal and Kulbir Dhaliwal suffered serious injuries but survived. Police eventually shot and killed Tatiana near the zoo cafe, ending the immediate threat, but opening the door to a flood of questions, lawsuits, and soul-searching. How did a tiger escape from what was supposed to be a secure enclosure? That became the first focus of investigators, and what they discovered shocked many. The wall surrounding Tatiana's open-air exhibit was only 12.5 feet tall, significantly below the 16.5-foot minimum recommended by zoo safety experts. Investigators found claw marks and broken concrete near the top, suggesting that Tatiana had physically leapt or climbed out. While Siberian tigers are powerful and athletic, experts had long assumed such an escape was unlikely, if not impossible. But the facts on the ground proved otherwise, forcing the zoo to reckon with some uncomfortable truths about its design and safety protocols. But the escape itself wasn't the only issue under the microscope. Reports emerged that the Dhaliwal brothers and Sousa may have been taunting the tiger before the attack, yelling, gesturing, or even throwing objects into the enclosure. While the exact details remain disputed, many people saw the possibility of provocation as a critical factor. After all, Tatiana was a wild animal, and even in captivity, her instincts and capacity for violence were never far below the surface. This wasn't even her first violent encounter. Just 1 year earlier, Tatiana had attacked a zookeeper during a public feeding session, mauling the keeper's arm so severely that it required multiple surgeries. At that time, the zoo was fined by Kalosha and pledged to improve its safety measures, but the Christmas 2007 incident showed that deeper systemic problems had not been addressed. The legal fallout was intense. The Sousa family filed a wrongful death lawsuit, ultimately reaching a settlement with the zoo. The Dhaliwal brothers, despite facing public criticism over their alleged role in provoking the tiger, also received a $900,000 settlement. Meanwhile, the zoo itself scrambled to make sweeping changes, raising enclosure walls, reinforcing barriers, adding clear warning signs to visitors, and overhauling emergency procedures. Across the country, other zoos took notice, revisiting their own safety standards and animal containment strategies to ensure that nothing like the Tatiana incident could happen on their grounds. Public reaction was sharply divided. On one side, many mourned the tragic loss of young Carlos Sousa Jr., a promising teenager whose life was cut short under horrifying circumstances. On the other side, animal rights advocates and wildlife experts pointed fingers at the zoo's inadequate design, arguing that Tatiana was a victim too, a powerful creature confined in an artificial setting, provoked beyond her limits, and ultimately killed for acting on instincts she could never fully suppress. Online memorials sprang up not only for Carlos, but also for Tatiana, with many people reflecting on the complex moral and ethical issues surrounding the captivity of large, dangerous predators. Today, Tatiana's story serves as a cautionary tale. It reminds us that no matter how much we try to contain and control wild animals, they remain unpredictable, powerful, and deserving of respect. It also forces us to look inward, questioning how we interact with animals in captivity, what responsibilities we hold as visitors, and what standards institutions must uphold to protect both human and animal lives. The San Francisco Zoo has changed, and so have many others. But the memory of that Christmas night and the lessons it delivered continue to echo in zoo communities around the world. In 2017, a harrowing crocodile attack in the northern part of Australia served as a stark reminder of the raw power of nature and the dangers that can lurk beneath seemingly calm waters. The incident took place in Cape Tribulation, Queensland, a region known for its lush rainforests and pristine waterways, but also for being home to some of the largest saltwater crocodiles in the world. This particular attack involved two tourists who were enjoying the natural beauty of the area when their lives suddenly took a terrifying turn. Saltwater crocodiles, often referred to as salties, are the largest reptiles on Earth and are known for their incredible strength, speed, and aggressive behavior. Measuring up to 6 meters, almost 20 feet, in length, these ancient predators have ruled northern Australia's waterways for thousands of years. While attacks on humans are relatively rare, when they do happen, the consequences can be tragic. The 2017 attack involved a crocodile estimated to be about 4 meters, 13 feet, long. The two tourists had been near a creek in Cape Tribulation when the crocodile suddenly lunged from the water. One of the tourists, a woman, was bitten severely on her leg, while the other, a man, was pulled underwater but managed to escape with injuries. The incident was captured on video, which quickly went viral, bringing widespread attention to the dangers of crocodile habitats. This attack not only shocked the local community but also prompted renewed warnings and safety advice from Australian wildlife authorities. The Northern Territory and Queensland governments have long emphasized the need for caution around crocodile-infested waters. But incidents like this highlight how quickly a seemingly peaceful environment can turn deadly. Tourists are advised to stay well away from waterways known to be inhabited by saltwater crocodiles and to always follow local safety guidelines. One of the key takeaways from this incident is the importance of respecting wildlife and understanding that these creatures are wild animals with instincts that can be unpredictable and dangerous. Saltwater crocodiles do not view humans as friends or neighbors. To them, humans are potential prey, especially when people venture too close to their territory. In response to the attack, authorities took swift action to capture and remove the crocodile believed to be responsible. This measure is part of a broader strategy to manage crocodile populations near populated areas to reduce the risk of future attacks. However, experts caution that complete elimination of risk is impossible. These animals are a natural and essential part of Australia's ecosystem. The 2017 crocodile attack on tourists in Cape Tribulation serves as a sobering reminder of the balance between adventure and safety when exploring the wild. Australia's natural beauty attracts millions of visitors each year, but it also demands respect for its wildlife and the environment. The crocodile's power and presence in these northern waterways are a testament to the untamed spirit of the region and a warning that nature's forces are not to be underestimated. For travelers and locals alike, the message is clear: admire from a safe distance, stay informed, and always prioritize safety when near crocodile habitats. The wild may be captivating, but it is also unpredictable, and understanding that is crucial for ensuring that encounters with wildlife remain safe and memorable for all the right reasons. The story of Mary the elephant is one of those tragic tales from the early 20th century that sounds almost unbelievable today, but it really happened in 1916. Mary was a working elephant for the Sparks World Famous shows, a traveling circus that roamed small towns across America, bringing excitement and wonder with its acts. Elephants were big stars back then, majestic, huge creatures who could perform tricks and awe the crowd. Mary was no exception. She was a beloved performer who could balance on tiny platforms and walk delicate tightropes, amazing audiences wherever she went. But behind the spectacle, life for circus animals was often tough. Conditions were cramped, stressful, and far from the natural environment these animals needed. On a fateful day in September 1916, during a show in Hampton, Tennessee, something went terribly wrong. The story goes that Mary, under pressure and possibly mistreated, reacted violently and killed her handler. Reports differ on the exact details, but it's generally accepted that the man was named Walter Whitey, or someone close to him. The incident shocked everyone and raised difficult questions about the treatment and safety of circus animals. What happened next is what truly marks Mary's story as one of the darkest chapters in circus history. Instead of being put down quietly or sent away, the circus owners and local authorities decided that Mary needed to be made an example of, and in a way that would send a clear message. They chose to execute her by hanging. Yes, hanging. A method more commonly reserved for humans, and an utterly brutal way to put down a giant, living creature. On September 13, 1916, a crowd gathered as Mary was chained by her neck to a large crane. The weight and size of an elephant make this method horrifyingly inefficient and cruel, as she struggled and suffered. The execution was a public spectacle, attended by townspeople who watched in stunned silence or morbid fascination. Photographs from the event still exist today and serve as grim reminders of how differently animals were treated in the past. Mary's death sparked a range of emotions from outrage to sadness and slowly helped change attitudes about circus animals. Her story is often cited as a symbol of the cruelty inherent in the circus industry's past, a tragic example of what happens when animals are forced into unnatural roles and punished harshly for acting on instinct. Today, Mary's tale reminds us of the importance of animal welfare and the need for compassion in how we treat all creatures, especially those who cannot speak for themselves. While her life and death were tragic, Her story helped shine a light on a practice that we now view as outdated and inhumane. It's a sobering piece of history that makes us reflect on progress and on how far we still need to go in protecting animals everywhere.